Hello, good day, and welcome to my presentation of video game integration in social, academic, and professional fields. My name is Ernesto Rivas, and I will be walking you through this experience. So, as the title explained, my thesis statement is that the use of video games can bring beneficial effects on new players and students that are already engaged in this activity. Also, that gaming as a social gives social skills an enhancement and is a useful tool whenever it's done correctly. And my last thesis statement is that playing video games has no correlation directly whatsoever between a violent behavior, which has been quite the main point of media back when I was young, and I believe it's still right now. Now, how do I support these theses? How is this essay going to be supported by? Well, multiple studies have reported that gaming can be a beneficial activity when it comes to academic, social integration, and even professional working environments. As seen in as seen in the essay that I posted, one of the experiments was done by Cato in 2013. This is particularly one of great interest, especially in a professional and academic field, which is in this case medicine. This case was supported. The evidence was supported by the experiment. I'm sorry, of children that were patients of cancer treatments. These patients, they were between the ages of 10 and 12 years old, and they were giving a video game. It was not a commercial available video game. It was a more independent developed game called, what was the name? The name was uh, Remission. Sorry, to forgot about it. The name was Remission. It's a word game that means re dash mission, just like the remission in cancer. Okay. Anyway, so what this experiment was about was that, as we know, if you have someone who has been diagnosed with cancer, or if you yourself have been diagnosed with it, um, we know that chemotherapy is a very, very intrusive and complicated treatment, which is right now one of the, if not the most viable option to treat cancer. And one of the many, many side effects of these treatment is nausea and head-related issues, and overall an affectance in the mood of the patients who take it. So the the experiment was to give children an audiovisual media that they could empathize and they could relate their own activity to, which was the chemotherapy. So in this game, the players, the kids, they were giving the control of a spaceship that was introduced into a body and had to destroy cancer cells, microbacterial cells, infectious disease, and they were giving this in order for them to realize how the process is for them to have a tangible object of visual connection, and to show them that with every step the symptoms may go disappearing, that the nausea and the headaches, they would go away between each level that they progress in the video game. So Cato reported that it was an overall success because over 70% of the children that participated with this experiment with the video game, they reported a significant enhancement on the adherence of their chemotherapy. They were more engaged, and they could relate better to the process overall. Now, also in other areas of interest, sorry, it could be academic. And as we know, video games and school have not always had the best relationship with the parents and the kids, because uh, we used to believe, well, people used to believe that video games were a distracting activity, that you could not get anything done if you play video games because all your attention was focused on it. But what happens if you take a different approach to it? What happens when you use video games not as a distractor but as a tool to make you to make your grades better? Now, a lot of researchers and academics and professors and teachers have thought about this and have, in some grades, successfully integrated video games to give a more comprehensive study of their assignments. For example, it is widely known that a famous, very, very, very old video game called the Oregon Trail is used to give students a more perceptible viewing on history. What this video game is about is that it is about the Oregon Trail, which is a river, I believe. I've never been there. But what it does is that it teaches you the way that people used to live back in the 1800s. They had to survive long distances with very even longer times of traveling. They had to be careful with the water they drink, otherwise they would get diseases. They would contract cholera, or they would contract E. coli, and that would, in this game, in the real life, they would kill the player or the traveler. And within this context, the professors realized that some students have a better approach and learning capacity when they associate something that they have already done, which in this case is playing the game, and associate it with the trial and error. Because once they failed a level, they could just simply go again, as in opposed to an exam, for example, or a quiz, that you do it, you fail it, that's it. No takeover again. No replay, no game. Well, it's just game over. Okay. And also, the view of gaming as a media of art is another argument that supports the idea that I propose. For at least 20 years that I have been around playing video games, but video games have been around for 30, maybe 35 years old, 35 years back to the very, very beginning, when it was just a computer displaying 8-bit graphics, with just two bars and a dot, like boop, boop, boop. That's a video game. And all the way now in 2021, we have seen an enormous, enormous development of the field. It is an art in every extent of the word. We have seen writers, we have seen directors, we have seen actors, we have seen computer science experts, we have seen developers, we have seen programmers. Every single thing to create a video game, it requires an area of expertise in some way. So it is not something just like, you know what, I'm gonna go and make another Angry Birds. Well, good luck with it. Nobody has ever done it. Or I'm gonna make another Super Mario video game. Sure, try and do it. Try to figure out the level design. Try to figure out the commands that you have to input in the computer. It is a completely new way of art. And within art, you now have the field of study, because as we know, art, it could be a theatrical art, you can study it. It can be musical art, you can study that. It can be any type of art. And that opens up another field of study, which I believe that in our case, which is the anthropology side, every single time we have a new opportunity to learn something that hasn't been thoroughly investigated, is a new chance to understand ourselves and to understand the world revolving us. And that doesn't exclude video games. I know it's a little far-fetched to think about it, but it's just a concept of time. Back in I believe, I would guess, 1800s, people thought music was just nothing but music. It was not related, well, at least here in the Occidental. But it needs a little time to develop more. This is still the baby side of video games. I believe it has way more approaches on it. Now, the next part is called demystifying the myths of video games. Okay, I know this sounds a little bit harsh, but it needs to be approached in order for us to understand the complexity of this practice. Now, the social behavior is, I believe, one of the most important sides of it. Um, this here is an image that represents, I believe, video gamers from 1996, 1994. This is an image from the original Legend of Zelda when you get your first sword, your only sword by that means. Now, it says it can be dangerous to go alone. Take this. We can take this just as literal as the main character Link grabbing a sword from a sorcerer, or we could go a little bit more deep on it. How can we go a little bit deep on it? Now, as the title suggests, this is the social behavior side of it. When you play video games, you can either play by yourself or usually on a multiplayer platform. That means you can interact directly with other people, with other players that are trying to do the same activity as you, that they're trying to get to the same goal, to complete the same tasks, or to finish the same level, defeat the same boss. Now, you put it that way, doesn't that sound a lot like an academic or a professional environment? When you work in a medical team, your goal is to save a patient's life. When you work in a banking team, your goal is to make the most money and protect what you have. When you are doing when you're part of an art team, your goal is to give the most expressive form of media. So, in that way, video games help us to understand social behavior, maybe not so directly as in theoretical ways of thinking or philosophers. Some of them do, don't get me wrong. Some of them actually get into very philosophical topics, but it would take me more than 30 minutes to just scratch the thin ice of that iceberg. But the main point here is how social behavior, how video games affect social behaviors on us. It can be absolutely beneficial, and just as you have the beneficial part of it, you also have the negative part, because you cannot have one without the other. It cannot all be good. It has to be balanced. Now, I will be talking about the beneficial and the negative parts of it in just a minute. Now, we have the signs of improvement and the player selectivity. What does this even mean? The signs of improvement are the results and the conclusions that many studies have shown that video games do have. For example, the Cato experiment that I told you, that I talked about, and there are also many other professors in elementary and high school that have reported that when they introduce to their class programs video game uses such as Super Mario Bros, Sonic the Hedgehog, Minecraft, and some of them even like Farmville, Animal Crossing, they gave a more social side to it, but also a critical thinking. For example, Minecraft is a video game that where you are just in an open world and you have to mine, you have to get the resources in order to construct something and just survive, just basically chill out. But you have your enemies, you have your creepers, your zombies that will come and destroy your houses or your buildings. What this works for students, what this makes it for them, is that they understand how resource management is, and I believe that is a very, very important and underestimated sometimes quality for students, because to be honest, to be able to manage your resources, resources being your time, your food, your water, your money, everything is important to have a sense of management. And if you don't have it, when you grow older and have more responsibilities, obviously you're going to have more resources to manage. And if you are not good at it, you're obviously going to fail. Now, I'm not saying, and researchers and professors are not saying that Minecraft will make you a better person. Otherwise, everyone would be playing Minecraft, although almost everyone is. But what they're trying to say is that when they use a form of media that they can see a visual aid, and they can do they can get rewarded with an instant reward, that what they do with their hands on the keyboard, it is reflected on the screen of their TV or their monitor or their cell phone. So they have a deeper sense of understanding the resources and how it works. If you use so much energy to get so much blocks of this, you'll have this. It's the same as saying, okay, if you put time and effort working in this company, you will get rewarded with this raise, or you will get rewarded with this position. Or if you put time to build up a study guide, you will get a better grade, and then you will get more. Okay, so I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. And also the player selectivity. One of the main issues with discussing the idea or the thesis statement that video games have a beneficial or a negative impact is that it cannot be completely correlational. What does correlation means? It means that when something provokes an action, a separate reaction comes with it. Okay, so we are not completely able, scientists are not completely able to determine that, okay, people who play video games are better at math or at history or with attention or with any other side effect that they might be studying, because you have now the parallel of saying, well, maybe it's not that video games cause this action. Maybe people that are attracted to video games have this reaction. Okay, you cannot say that video games make creative people. What about if creative people just like video games? Okay, so we have that selectivity of players. We cannot assess completely on whether it is true or false, but what we can do and what we do now know is that it does have a significant improvement on players that have never, on people that have never played a game. Let's see. Now, a little bit more in-depth explanation of this is, first of all, I want to talk about three very important aspects of a gaming system. Okay, not a gaming system, the gaming system. For example, we have first, and I believe one of the biggest one, the communities. When people used to think about video games and gamers, they used to think, oh, he's probably just an old guy or just a lonely kid playing in the basement or in his room. He doesn't want to speak to anyone. He doesn't want to go out play ball. He doesn't want to have friends, and he just wants to play video games by his own. But that can be farther from the truth. I have experimented myself that change, and I can certainly say that video game communities is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest communities in any form of media output, just as much as movie communities, just as much as music communities, just as much as writing communities. These people, they are serious. They say there's a very common saying, this is not a game, this is a form of life. And it is. I have seen the development of video games just from being a social or a regular kids activity all the way to becoming esports. Esports, they actually give people a nationality just for them to go and play on their national team, because there are national teams for a lot of video games. For example, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Dota 2, League of Legends. There's a lot to see in the world of video games, and it is unbelievable. It looked like it was out of the blue, just something from the next night, but it wasn't. It was a deep process that took several years, even decades, to perfect to a certain degree, and it's still in the works. So, coming back to my point, video game communities, they bring positive and negative effects. They can bring positive effects because they give a sense of communication and reward as social with players. But that also means that if you have good people, you will also have bad people. This is what we call in video games as trolls or haters. These people, they are just here to be mean, to play and be mean to each other. They have a superiority complex, and that's just part of it. But you have to learn where or how to identify these people. The other skills are communication skills. Just as in medicine, you have your jargon. For example, you have to put an IV stat on the patients in ER room number 5. Okay, some people will be like, what did he just say? Same goes in video games. You have specialized and technical language that only if you participate in it or if you study it, you will understand it. For example, there's a very, very, very dumb and stupid expression in video games that we call Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Jenkins was the username of a player back in 2004, I believe, and he just screamed out his name. His squad, his team, well, technically his guild, because it was in the game called World of Warcraft. There, the teams are called guilds. Anyway, the guild team was telling them how to act on the next mission that they were about to do. But this guy, we don't know if he was not paying attention. We don't know if he was not even on the session. I don't know. Nobody knows except him. But he just comes in and he goes like, Leroy Jenkins, and just storms out, gets killed, gets everyone killed, and everyone just out flames him. They destroy him. They start speaking a lot of negative talk to him. So whenever you do that in a game, whenever you don't care about your team or just do whatever you want, you call, hey, you're Leroy Jenkins. Okay, so that's one of the terminologies. For example, when you are taking control of the party, they say you carry them. Yeah. Or if you, when a character gets a better stats, they say you buff them, or if they get down grades, you nerf them. So that kind of lingo that is intrinsic to gaming community, and that helps because now you have the ability to connect non-related words to a specific topic on another field, which is absolutely of great skills whenever you come into more technical abilities. And also another topic that I would like to discuss is the scheduling. We know, I know, everybody knows that playing video games is addictive. It consumes you, especially when it's a multiplayer, because you have the sense of, all right, I just did one raid, or I just did one match. I'm gonna go for another one. And if you're in a losing streak, it's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna do one until I win. And when you win, then you're like, okay, I'm gonna win another one. And there you go. And there you go. And every match is 30 minutes, 1 hour, an hour and a half. And that can consume your whole time. And that is when the negative side of video games may come to us. But when you have an organized schedule, and you can even do software engineering to software programming, sorry, not engineering, software programming, to shut off your whole computer. Of course, this needs auto control, but it is workable. And in the case of children, which they are, the parents are in control of them, they can reward them by giving them video game playing time after doing a chore, or after getting a grade, or after behaving good, to get a positive reaction stimulation. Okay. Now, what to expect in the future, in the near future, of how video games will interact in a more mainstream media, because that is something that is absolutely going to happen. Okay, we have the awards. What are the awards? These awards are just as the Emmys or the Oscars or the Grammys or the Tonys or any other type of awards. As I already speak of it, if you have a community, you would want to get recognized in that community. And the way to be recognized is with an award. That award can be a monetary award, it can be a statue, it can be any type of award. In this case, in video games, it's both of them. But um just to walk you through this, what I'm trying to say is that video games will be becoming a more and more and more present activity in our world. As we know now, it is one of the most streamed activities to do in YouTube or Twitch or Instagram. A lot of people are getting into it, a lot of people that you wouldn't expect them to be, but it is getting a more wide range of attraction. And with that wider range of attraction, it means that you will have more participants. And when more participants, you will have more gratification of it. Now, the stats, what do I mean with stats? What I mean with this is how demographically it's going to impact us. I remember a very dumb example, but it might work, is, for example, a comic book or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, that kind of mystery folk art. When I was a kid, if you read comic books, it was like, why are you reading that? Why aren't you playing? Why aren't you going out to parties? And now everyone seems to love Marvel and DC and Star Wars and anything geek related. Well, geek related, but everyone seems to look on it. And that is happening to video games now, right now. The same thing happens, people who used to say that's not a real game, referring to esports and comparing them with traditional physical sports, for example, football, baseball, basketball. And I will ask them, okay, so what makes a real sport? Well, it is basically a team where they have to do a goal or score a bigger points, more points, sorry. And if they're good at it, they get rewarded by millions of dollars and famous recognition. And I was like, that is exactly what happens here. It's a team of 3 to 5 people in some games. They have to show their skills. They have to practice every single day. These people are getting their wrists. They're getting I forgot the word of it. It's a syndrome where your hand gets very, very bad. I'll remember. But it is basically the same. So video games are going to become a more demographic attractive. And with that, we have the opportunity to use them, to apply them to any field that we want. Okay. Now, what are the achievements that video games have brought into our lives? Well, first of all, we know that video games are a form of media, and any type of media means an introspect side of our human activities as society. Also, we have learned and understand that playing video games can bring a cognitive and a visual and a spatial benefit whenever you apply them into another people or students. In this case, 3 or 4 experiments that I showed in my essay explain how teachers saw a major improvement in algebra and, well, linear algebra, or basic math, to rephrase it, whenever they were exposed to resource management and crafting video games. So this could mean an improvement in the educational system, maybe not in the public sector, but yes, in the private one, because now professors and teachers, they have a new tool to use. They have this tool that it is widely accepted by their students, and it is also beneficial. So it is a win-win situation. Students get a little bit of what they want and what they enjoy, and professors, they make sure that their students, they're getting a better education process and that they're getting a more comprehensive way of it. And also the support that needs to be given to the overall industry. Video games have always been in the eye of media, just as music and just as movies. It is very, very common to hear, well, maybe that person did this heinous and atrocious act because he was playing Call of Duty, or because he was playing Doom, or because he was playing all this violent and nonsensical titles. Yeah, but you cannot blame just one activity to all the activities that resulted in the action. It is the same back in 1980s, where every single bad thing that happened, it was because of music. It was because of rock music. Or in the 2000, when in the 2000s, when violent movies, they were credited to be the perpetrators of acts, and they enhanced people to do horrible things. It is just not correct and morally correct to do that. It's, to me, it's just stupid, because you cannot blame someone for doing a certain type of act just because he likes. For example, would you determine that, I don't know, Charles Manson did those heinous things with his family, with his community, just because he liked to drink Coke? Just that being that Coca-Cola has a direct relation with mass murders? So I don't think so. It's just one of the things that sometimes they are attracted to, but it doesn't mean that they are in the direct part of it. So the support needs to be given to wide up the viewings of video games, to see people that video games are not just shooting people in, or killing demons, or um doing violent things like robbing and stealing cars and selling drugs like in Grand Theft Auto. To be honest with you, those are pretty good titles, but I have had my best times playing video games with super, super, extremely stupid games. For example, there was one that it's called My Friend Pedro, and you're a banana shooting your peels to make your enemies slip and get them unconscious. And it was absolutely fun. I had one of the best times playing with my friend because it was so irreverent. But as I'm saying, I'm getting out of my points. It's just a matter of supporting the media, because we know that this media can give so much to the community, and we must try to preserve it and try to support it. And that would be the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed it. And well, that's it. Mm.